Hi everybody, it's Crystal. So today's video is going to be exactly about what the title suggests. It is the Addi knitting machine versus the Sentro knitting machine 3 years later. It's been a little bit over 3 years since I first purchased an Addi knitting machine and a Sentro knitting machine, and I thought I would give my experiences with them now that it's been years later. I have a video, I think, when I first got them, but it's an old one. So anyways, I do want to say this. I always have to say this because everybody has different opinions on things, and it's okay to have a different opinion than me. And so whatever I say about the Addi or whatever I say about the Sentro reflects nothing on what you feel about them. If you have one or the other, it doesn't matter what I think. It's only about what you think, and if you like the one that you have and the one that you have works well for you. So you can use my comment section if you have a different opinion than me, and please state the reasons why. If you have a knitting machine, even if it's not one of the two that I'm mentioning, state the machine that you have and the reasons why you prefer it, or the reasons why you don't prefer another one. Use my comment section as a place to help others. So that's kind of what I'm using this video for, because a lot of people always want to know what do I want? What's my favorite knitting machine? Which one would I recommend? Well, I have two, and I can tell you my experiences with them, but they're not going to be the same as everybody else's. So please use my comment section to nicely express your opinion about, if you have one, of why you choose the machine that you do, and or why you don't choose the machine. All right. So regardless of what I say, please take no offense to it. I'm not meaning anything ill towards anybody, because what I say, everybody just likes what they like. And feel free to leave your information of what you like to help others who are on the fence about making a decision. I'm not the only one that has an opinion. You don't just go to Amazon and read one review, do you? You read several. So yes, please do that to help other people who are on the fence. So I'll go ahead and tell you my experience with them 3 years later. So the Addi and the Sentro, right? So it's been over 3 years, and I have used both of them a lot, one more than the other, I can say. And I do have one that I prefer over the other, and I will tell you the reasons why, and stuff like that. So when I bought the Addi and I bought the Sentro, I was looking for a knitting machine, correct? And people were telling me different ones, and these were the two most common ones. This is the Addi knitting machine, and this is the Sentro. There is a big price difference between the two. Both of mine were purchased on Amazon about 3 years ago. At the time, this was about $70, and this was closer to $300, or $250, or something like that. So yes, the price difference is quite a big factor, and the reason why people would choose the one that they choose. Okay, so we'll talk about the Sentro. Like I said, used it, several times, many times. I've had them for years, Okay, so when you buy an Addi and a Sentro, they're like this, and you hand crank them, and I have a couple videos making hats or whatever, and they knit up a simple beanie or a hat or whatever, like that. Now, they make adapters for them that you can hook on the side of the handle and use. You're supposed to use like an electric screwdriver that's not as powerful, and then you can do it automatically and it will turn for you, and you don't have to hand crank. I hate hand cranking. I don't want to hand crank nothing. Hurts my hands. This is my crochet hand. I know it should be strong, but I can crochet for days, but cranking an Addi or a Sentro for a little bit hurts my hands. So I did buy the adapters at the time. I bought them off of eBay, not eBay, Etsy. They have separate one for the Addi and one for the Sentro. Now, me, I don't follow directions at all because I don't know why. I just don't. So I used the adapter, and I used power drill, a plug-in kind, you know, it don't go dead and it's full power like non-stop. That's what I used instead of the electric screwdriver. Okay, but first, I will say this is my second Sentro. This is my second one. When the first one came in, the row counter was broken on it, which is right here. It didn't work. The row counter didn't work. But, you know, that's okay. Whatever, the row counter didn't work. And I used the adapter and the power drill. I might have got 100 hats out of it. Then it broke. Didn't work anymore. You know, that's my fault because probably, of course, it was 100% my fault. I was using a power drill on a machine that you're supposed to hand crank. Even though they do make the adapters for them, you know, even with that, I probably should have used the electric screwdriver. I take accountability for that. 100% my fault. It broke because of me. So I got another one. Here it is. This is the second one. I bought this one. The first one broke maybe about 6 months after I got it. So I've had this one since. When I got this, the row counter did not work on this either. All right. Second one, the row counter didn't work. Whatever. It didn't work. But I learned I just had to hand crank this one because it could not handle even I learned from the other one that I couldn't do the power drill, right? And it also could not handle the electric screwdriver. It didn't break it, but it started making funky noises. So I thought, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use a Sentro and I'm just going to hand crank it. Even though that sucks, I'm just going to hand crank it. So, you know, I use the Sentro. I can say that it drops a lot of stitches for me. I have problems with it dropping stitches. And that, you know, when I was using it, I was hand cranking it. I didn't use the adapter anymore. It's total crochet hand cranking, you know, crochet power. Then one of the legs snapped off for no reason. I had it hooked up to a table and it just snapped off because this is made of, the legs and everything is made of a cheaper plastic. It's a lesser expensive machine. So I lost a leg, right? And then I got a makeshift leg for it, and then another one snapped, and now you can see 2.5 years later, there are no legs left on this Sentro. And actually, it is broken as well. Even after hand cranking it, it just got to the point that when you use it, like you put yarn through it, it cranks and cracks, and it just won't go. It's like locked up, and if it goes, it makes a big popping sounds. Like I said, I didn't use the drill or anything on this. It just did that over time. I noticed the Sentro could not handle a yarn that was thicker. It really could only handle, well, for me, a 4-weight, and it couldn't be a thick 4. It had to be just like just an average 4-weight. Otherwise, it would start like locking up and being weird. And then I noticed that it would always split my roving yarn as well, like the 1-ply roving style. It would split it. But I can say that for this Sentro, even it's broken, you know, I can't use it. That's broke. And the other one that broke like 6 months before, even though that one was my fault, I don't have no idea why this one broke. The legs broke off. It just don't work anymore. But anyways, I can say that after all that time, neither one of them ever broke a needle. Never. Not one time did it ever break a needle. But, you know, that could be because I knew not to put nothing that was very thick through the Sentro. I knew that. I learned one time, I think I tried to put like Scarfy or something through it, maybe. It couldn't even handle Scarfy, and Scarfy's not really that thick of a yarn. It was split in the roving style of it, and it just started like acting all locking up and making cranking sounds, and I took it right out, and after that I only used a regular hand cranking, like 3-weight thin forward, you know, until just one day it just started making popping sounds and it broke. Okay, that's my Sentro experience. Went through 2 of them. First broken one was my fault. I'll take the fault for that. Second one, I don't know what happened to it. It just kapootered out on me. But it never lost a needle. It never broke a needle. Now we'll talk about the Addi, which is a right off. You'll be able to feel that it is a much more heavier. Even though it's plastic, it's a harder plastic, and you can tell right off that it's like I said, heavier and a much well made machine. Now this Addi I have had the entire time and that I have purchased it. This is the Addi. And I can also confidently say that I have abused this Addi both. I have abused it in every way imaginable. I have verbally abused it, emotionally abused it, physically abused it, and yet it still stands and makes anything that I want it to make. It has never, ever, ever let me down. And now when I say abused it, I use an adapter with the power drill on full speed every single time I use this Addi. Full speed power drill. That is not recommended. They recommend a power screwdriver. Bagoday does a power drill because this Addi. Now, I would not recommend you do what I do because it works for me. Don't go take a Bagoday's advice because, like I said, I have used this Addi and yet it still stands. It still makes hats. It still makes anything that I want it to make. It can handle whatever, well, it can handle some pretty thick yarn. The only thing that has ever broken on my Addi was needles every once in a while. These white needles here that you see, like the Sentro had the pink ones. Every once in a while, I think in the whole time I've had it, I might have broken maybe 3 off of this Addi right here, maybe 4. They're real easy to replace. They send you a sack of them with it because they expect them to break. And that is because I tried putting like a big thick 6-weight yarn through it. Now it went as much as it could until the needle snapped. But it still went. I've abused it. So that's how I've abused it physically, like using the power drill, you know, so much. And nothing has ever happened other than some needles have snapped. Easy fix. Pop them back on. And that's because I put in a yarn. I do it solely for the purpose of yarn education, especially when I'm doing, when I used to do yarn reviews. I would put the, thick weight yarns in it, knowing dang well that, you're not supposed to do that. Knowing you're not supposed to use a power drill on high speed, but I did it anyways because I pushed it to the limit because I want to see what my Addi could do, I guess. I'm a glutton for punishment. Or I forced the Addi to be a glutton for punishment. But it still stands. Now, when I abuse it verbally, it's only because the needle breaks, and I get mad at it. But that's my fault. It broke because of me, you know, because I'm putting a yarn, a bulky 6-weight yarn, knowing dang well it ain't gonna do it, but I still try just to see how far my Addi will go. By golly, sometimes it will work with the 6-weight. Not often without breaking a needle, but sometimes it will. High speed on a power drill every single time. It's a sturdy machine for me. It's never let me down. Never. As for as much, like I said, as abuse as I have put it through, and I continue to put it through every single day, or every single time I use it, which is a lot. I do use it quite a bit. Always power drill on high. Always yarns I'm not supposed to. It still stands. It still works. It still turns out a nice hat, scarf, piece of fabric that I'm trying to show, like for a yarn review, and it never drops a stitch for me. Never. That's only my experience. I love the Addi so much. I do. That's my experience with it. I have a small one as well. This one I used to make socks. And yes, I hook up the power drill to it. And I do the same things with it. I use it physically with a power drill on high speed, knowing I shouldn't do that, but I do it because that's what I do. I put yarns through it knowing that I shouldn't put those thick yarns through it. I still do it just to see, hey, maybe this yarn will work. And you know what? Sometimes they do, thick ones. But as you can see, for the very first time, I bought this about 6 months after I bought this one. I think I bought it at the same time my first Sentro broke. I bought this with it. I think. I'm not sure. It could have been before that, but as you can see, for the very first time on this little Addi, as much as I have used this, it has a broken needle. That's the first time it ever broke a needle. I haven't replaced it yet. But it's very easy to do. You just kind of unpop these off, and the needle pops off, and then just pop it back in, and it's good to go. You can just abuse the crap out of it again. I don't recommend doing that though. But yeah, so this one is abused as well, and yet it still stands. Yet it still makes socks. It's still used for stitch tutorials or stitch reviews. It makes anything that I want it to make. High speed with a power drill and the adapter that goes on it. Now I know I shouldn't do it that way. I know that. You don't have to tell me in the comments. Everybody tells me that. But I got a mind of my own, and that's just the way I do it. I push them to the limit. And for me, the limit has been over 3 years, and it still makes everything I wanted to make. And it's only, like I said, the only thing that's ever happened to it is broken a needle a few times because of me. This one, the same. It'll make anything I wanted to make. First time it ever broke a needle. I haven't changed it, but yeah. So, without a doubt, my recommendation would be an Addi, from the experience that I've had with this. I've only had the Sentro and the Addi. I've never had any other brand. But from the experiences that I've had with both of them, I would never recommend confidently any other knitting machine myself, other than the Addi. But my experiences are not of everybody else's. So that's why I'm trying to say that for people that are on the fence, please leave your experience with what machine you choose, even if, like I said, if it's not one of these, and why you choose that. I'm just giving everybody mine that I would confidently, always and forever recommend the circular Addi king size knitting machine right here. And then if you like socks and smaller scarves or little baby hats and stuff, this is the 22 needle. It never let me down either. Neither one has ever let me down. They're a fine piece of machinery, if you ask me. For the abuse that this big one has suffered at my hands, honestly, I mean that. I would never recommend anything else because I know what I have put it through, and it's horrible. And yet it still would make a hat right now if I cranked up my power drill, and it would make a double layer beanie in about 3 or 4 minutes. Yep, it would. That's why I love it. I push it to the limits, I guess, just to see. I know one day it might break on me, but then I guess I will know the Addi machines at my Addi's limit at that time. But I love it. I love the Addi. And I know there's been people telling me, Doug, hey, quit. I know there's been people telling me that Addi now makes a motor, electric motor that you can put on these, so you don't have to use the power drill, or you're supposed to use a screwdriver and the adapter. I know that. Now I've looked into that. I'm just gonna stick with the power drill because that's what I do. I like to just try to see how much it will take, and then I can confidently tell you, hey, this is how much it took from me. And by gosh, this machine has taken more abuse than any Addi machine has ever probably ever endured, and should have to endure. But all for the love of crochet, I did that. For the love of yarn and for the love of yarn education, I did it. And like I said, it'll still turn a hat for me right now in about 4 minutes. Probably with the thin 6-weight yarn if I wanted to, and roving style. And it wouldn't break a needle. That's how confident I am in that. So that's my experience with the two. Now, I would not recommend the Sentro ever. I think that please, if you like the Sentro, I'm not meaning anything bad. I'm not meaning anything bad. So it's okay to leave your opinions in that's what my comment section is for, but please leave them nicely. I'm not dissing anybody because you like what you like. We only go by our own personal experiences, each of us, right? And I'm just telling mine, and please tell yours, and I'll read it. I would love to hear your guys' experiences with your knitting machines, and people that don't have a knitting machine and want one would probably love to hear everybody's experiences so they can make their best the best decision for them. Maybe they're not going to use it much. If you're not going to use it much, yeah, probably the Sentro would be okay. I used the crap out of mine. I mean, both of them, I used the crap out of them. Way more on the Addi though, but because these two broke. But yeah, I abused the Addi a lot more because, like I said, when I got the second one, I didn't even use a drill on it, and I never put anything above a thin 4 in it. Not even a roving yarn. It still broke on me. Legs broke off and everything. It's okay though, because you just like what you like. So I want everybody to tell me, yes, that's my experience 3 years later. Addi, 100%. It's been used and abused, and it will continue to be used and abused by me with the power drill until the end of its days. And I do not think I don't foresee the end of its days ever coming anytime soon, to tell you the truth. It's a fine piece of machinery. But I also don't recommend using a power drill on it, all right? Because they don't recommend doing that. Just because I do it, though, I wouldn't do it. Like I said, I'm like that. I do things like that for the sheer purpose. So, again, I can give you this review and say, hey, it took a power drill for 3 years now, high speed, without a hitch, except a few broken needles, which you can replace in like two minutes, and that was my fault, putting thick 6-weight yarns through them, and I knew dang well I couldn't take them, but by golly, it took some of them. I'm happy with it. And that is the one I would recommend 3 years later. It's still standing, turning out hats and scarves, being abused by Bod. Probably not liking me, but I still love it. Alright, I'm going to go, and please do leave your experience with whatever machine that you have, the reasons why you prefer it. So it's good for everybody that, like I said, so everybody can make their own best judgment on what they like. Alright? Okay. Bye, guys! Oh, before I go, I was looking on Amazon the other day, just a couple days ago. And I noticed that they did actually have one of these. They did have this Addi here. Someone was selling it, Maker's Mercantile, that yarn company, on Amazon. They had it for $150. It was like half off. That was just like a couple days ago. I don't know if it's still there or not, but surely it is. That's a good deal. That's a good deal. So if you are, you know, like I said, on the fence and you were thinking about getting an Addi, you can go check Amazon out and see if that deal's still there. It's a killer deal. All right. Bye, guys.